Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Casey Cantwell, Director of Music and Organist here, and it's good to see everybody here today. You're in for a special treat because this is always my favorite program of the year. So would you please welcome Lisa Glazer, Karen Rich, and Nathan Glazer.
Good afternoon, and thanks for coming to this oboe recital. I'm very grateful to Karen for being a magnificent accompanist, and my son Nathan, who I've bribed with a good lunch after this to play. I have played a recital here annually for a long time, and I get bored easily, so it's just not an oboe recital anymore. So I have done a couple of theme recitals, and it came to me this year to do How Dare You Use Artistic License. And I have a couple personal stories to talk about that. Artistic license, another term would be artistic freedom, and it's when musicians, when they apply it, they don't necessarily strictly follow absolutely everything printed on the page that a composer has written. They might embellish it a little bit or just tweak it a little bit. How do composers feel about this? Well, I was privileged to be at the Tanglewood Music Festival as a young professional. It's the Boston Symphony Festival. And Leonard Bernstein conducted Aaron Copland's Third Symphony. And I grew up to recordings of Aaron Copland conducting orchestras of his own music and recordings of Leonard Bernstein conducting Copland's music. And the Bernstein recordings were always a lot better. And they were good friends, and Copland didn't seem to resent that. And when I was at Tanglewood, this music festival, Bernstein conducted an orchestra I was in on Copland's Third Symphony, and Copland came to the performance. So I got to work as a young professional with Leonard Bernstein, and then Copland came up on the stage at the end of the performance and just beamed and gave Bernstein a great hug. So I think Copland understood that Bernstein was better at conducting his music than he was. And he didn't have a problem with it. However, my oboe teacher, I studied him when he was principal oboe in the Cleveland Orchestra, and his very first orchestra job was with the New Orleans Symphony or Philharmonic, whatever it was called in the 50s. And Stravinsky came to conduct some of his own music. Stravinsky is a famous composer, ballet composer, and Stravinsky was in his 70s. And my teacher told me they played the Firebird Suite first rehearsal, and near the end, there's a long, beautiful French horn solo. Stravinsky cut off the orchestra and said, "How dare you put yourself in my music?" to the French horn player. So that composer wasn't too thrilled with artistic license. But there's no composers today here that I'm playing. So I double dog dare. So the very first piece is by French composer Camille Saint-Saëns. He wrote it when he was 86 years old, the last year of his life. And Saint-Saëns is ranked as number 5 of great composers in France. Debussy and Ravel come in first and second, and then there's a couple others, including Berlioz, but then Saint-Saëns. And I'm playing the second movement. He asks that the musician at the very top, the opening and closing of the movement is music it's ad lib, it says, ad libitum, which in Latin means as you desire. So on purpose, he wrote the notes and he wrote the rhythms, kind of the idea of how fast and slow it should go, but he wanted the musician to play with it. And in between is some lovely little dance music. It sounds like children skipping. It's all very pastoral. But he wanted us to play with it. He wanted artistic freedom. So that's what I'm starting from. Then we'll take off from there. I hope you enjoy it. you. Now, part of that ad lib was not planned for, which was a whole bunch of water that got in my C key and made it gurgle right at the end there. That was not planned, so I have to get the water out. The next piece I have done at Trinity here before on English horn. English horn is an alto oboe. I don't normally play it. Here in Tulsa, I am the English horn player for Symphony Orchestra of Northwest Arkansas after winning an audition there about 7 or 8 years ago. But this piece, in the program it says, you know, artistic license, another composer did it. Mozart, on his desk, when he passed away, was found a sketch of this music. It was only one line, and the melody line, and someone decided, well, we can't waste Mozart's music. We're going to finish this piece of music. So that's where the artistic license is. Mozart did not give permission for someone else to finish that. And then it was assumed it was written for English horn, but Mozart never wrote for English horn. And it was later discovered that what was written English horn next to the melody line was written by the biographer and not Mozart. So it wasn't planned for English horn. So that also gives this piece a lot of artistic license. We don't know what Mozart had planned for it. We don't know how he would have put music underneath the melody line, but the edition I'm doing today is by Philip Wilby. And have I taken some artistic license? Yes. There's a couple of places that don't make sense to me where the music goes ba, ba, and it doesn't sound right. So instead of jumping up, bum, ba, I'm staying down, bum, bum, and I think it sounds better. I asked Kira, and she thought so too. So this is Mozart's, partly Mozart's, Adagio for English horn. unfortunately, the English horn got a little blooper when I put it down over there, and I finally got it about a minute in, put the key where it needed to be. Always artistic, whatever, challenges. Okay, this next one, If Lightning Strikes, Trinity Episcopal Church, it's Carlos Chavez. He wrote this piece in 1957 when he was 58 years old. He is regarded as the greatest composer in Mexico, #1. And this piece is written for unaccompanied oboe, all alone. Well, I just got the music recently, had never even heard it before, and I liked the rhythmic feel of it, but he has written it, he's gone now, so hence maybe lightning strike. He's written it as a very kind of a slow song. It starts and ends that way, and in the middle is kind of a slow dance. Well, I don't hear it as a slow song at the beginning. I hear it as a slow dance. And then I don't hear the middle section as a slow dance. I hear it as a fast dance. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it a whole different speed than the composer had planned. And in addition, as I was playing it, I kept hearing a drum. I kept hearing a drum in the background in my thinking. So I drafted my son, who is actually a live composer. He makes a good part of his living as a composer, as his father did. And my dad was a published composer too, even though he was an Episcopal priest. So I've got 3 composers in my family. However, I'm not playing his music and fudging around with it today, so he's not going to get mad. But he is improvising. So we have artistic freedom where a musician might tweak something a little bit. Then you have ad lib, where you can maneuver it even more, the composer wants you to. Well, in this case, Nathan is making it up as he goes. There's no music written. I knew he could do it. I knew he would have it in him. And we've done it through twice, and he has my music in front of him, and he's just kind of looking at what I have and going with the flow. And it's been different every time. And it'll be different this time, too. And I hope wherever Carlos Chavez is, I hope he likes it. I think it makes it better. Enjoy this. He's not a drummer, by the way. Trumpet player, pianist. He can play a trap set, but he does this. Okay. Thank you. Don't you think that worked? I hope Mr. Chavez does too. The next piece, Vivaldi, written in 1717. He was 39 years old, and even today, he is regarded as the #1 classical composer in Italy. I'm a little surprised. I thought maybe Puccini or Verdi with their operas. No, it's Vivaldi, and most people know him for the Four Seasons that he wrote. He wrote 21 oboe concertos, 3 concertos for 2 oboes, and 20 concertos that used oboe and other instruments. So he liked the oboe. This piece, I picked the middle movement because it's odd. It's 4 oboe and strings, and Vivaldi has a chance to use first violins, second violins, violas, cello, and bass, 5 different voices. In this movement, he only uses first violins, so there's only 2 voices the whole time. And I haven't been able to find over the years anything but an ornamented or embellished version. In the Baroque, the period that Vivaldi wrote in, when you would have a slow movement of a sonata or a concerto, generally the composer would write very long, slow notes and expected the musician to ornament, which is a type of embellishment, add notes, which is again artistic license. But we don't have one of those. And the idea was you play it through an ornament, or most of the time it's also repeated. So you play it plain, and then the second time through you ornament and decorate it. So we don't have that in this. So what I'm doing is I took the ornament and embellished version, which is all I can find, and I simplified it to make it very, very simple. And then I'm doing the version that's in print, repeating. So you're going to have something very simple that I took from the embellished version, and then I'm going to do the embellished version. And this is by Vivaldi, written in 1717. Thank you. I also added a little ornamentation to what was on the page. The last piece is pretty short, and it is by Edvard Grieg, who is Norwegian. All these composers are from different countries and regarded as the #1 composer in his country. So Carlos Chavez, Antonio Vivaldi, and Edvard Grieg are regarded as the best in where they come from. This was written in 1875. He was 32 years old, and it's a song from an opera about a man named Peer Gynt, based on a play by Henrik Ibsen. And Peer Gynt is a rascal. And this song is about a woman who is his lover, and he has just abandoned her. He does it often. And her song is hopes that he will return. And so it's nice and slow. And then it has a section at the end which is more, it skips around a little bit. And I think, I'm not quite sure, but I think in the opera she might be at a spinning wheel. So I think it's supposed to reflect the spinning wheel that's going around. Well, I decided I like the slow part just fine, where she talks about she's sad, but she hopes he comes back. But the dancing part, and I've seen it online a couple of places, I think it's too slow. And it's spring, and we've got new life and energy going here. So I'd like to end this with a much speeded up version at the end than Grieg had in mind. So we all can dance away and enjoy the rest of our day. Thank you so much for coming. all so much for coming. I tend to talk a lot, but I think you want to know, you know? Thanks for coming. Enjoy the spring. Whew. I still have water in my cheek key. Isn't that crazy? Hi. Oh, good. Good. Yeah, you know, people want to know for the most part, you know, and I want to know. So thank you for coming. Thanks for coming. Okay. Yes, so good. Good.